lot of the hits against or from Hamas? Motherfucking Bedouins, okay? Purposefully left to starve by the Israeli government. Bedouins who are considered Palestinian citizens of Israel. So no, it's not an anti-Jewish action. Even this last October 7th military operation was not. The plural of kibbutz is kibbutzim. I know. Sorry. You're right. Kibbutzim. Okay? So even in that situation, it's not like directly an anti-Jewish action or anything like that. Okay? It was bad. I have condemned it time and time again. It was a massacre. It was ruthless slaughter in some of these neighborhoods. Okay? Unjustifiable, totally. But the idea that this was like simply an anti-Jewish action is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It is a violent retaliation against Israel. Okay? You are the one who is adding the Jewish context to it because you want to make an argument off of it to basically always tie the international Jewish community back to Israel, which is anti-Semitic.
Meanwhile, the evil human rights violations of the Palestinians are minimized. Myth number 1. Israel is historically Muslim territory.
That's not true. Israel is not historically Muslim territory. I don't think anybody ever says Israel is historically Muslim territory. As a matter of fact, every historian, unless they're a fucking charlatan like Ben Shapiro or, Dennis Prager or whatever the fuck, will always say Israel used to be known as historic Palestine. Under the Ottoman Empire, it was an area where Jewish people, Christian people, and Muslim people peacefully coexisted.
This is a pure and absolute lie.
He's saying that it's a myth? No, dude, no one's, but it's not. People don't say it's Israel's Muslim territory. They do not say that. That is not a thing that people say. It was a region under the Islamic Caliphate, under the Ottoman Empire, certainly, but it was not an area specifically for Muslims. So his first myth is a myth because it's not a thing that people say.
Muslim territory.
He's doing a fucking straw man.
This is a pure and absolute lie. Israel is historically Jewish territory. According to the Bible and certain interpretations of contemporaneous archaeology, Joshua entered the land of Israel in 1400 BC.
Yeah, okay. The 1400 BC argument is fucking psychotic. You want to know why it's fucking psychotic? Because it's 1400 BC, man. Are you fucking stupid? Are you insane? You cannot make this argument for anything else. Dude, Native Americans have a much closer history to every fucking area that Ben Shapiro has lived in this country, from California all the way to fucking Florida, okay? There is no land back movement in that regard where the Israeli forces are totally just in fucking depopulating whoever the fuck lived there for hundreds of years by saying, well, 3,000 years ago, it was mine. That is a psychotic fucking take, unless you believe that the world is Turkish, in which case, maybe he's not wrong. The entire world is actually technically Turkish, including the Native Americans that actually are of Turkic origin, okay? Hold on 1 second. I have to play this. Hold on. Unless Ben Shapiro is going to make the argument that Native Americans were actually Turks that crossed when the continents were together, and therefore technically all land that Native Americans have inhabited technically belong to the Turks, then in which case I do agree with him, because let's be fucking really real. The entire world is Turkish, except for the Hungarians. They've betrayed the Turks by acting like they're more than Turkish because they're Christian. So the entire world technically is Turkish except for the Hungarian population. And we should parse it out evenly, starting with Crimea and historic Palestine. That's right. Native Americans are Turks, Flexicans are Turks, Filipinos are Turks, Pinoy gang. Yeah, that's right. Except for the Hungarians. Never forget, Hungarians are not Turks because they betrayed their genetic haplogroup by acting like they're above it all, okay? Oh, yeah, look at us. We're Christian. We're totally different. Magyar! All right, sorry. Let's continue. What a ridiculous argument. It's such a stupid argument because, let me tell you something. The reason why this is a dumbass argument is, like, you can make the argument to colonize whatever fucking area you want to in Africa. You can just be like, sorry, we all came from Africa. All humans came from Africa. You go back far enough in time, you could just take over the entirety of Africa and say, it's your fucking land. That's nuts.
The Kingdom of David was founded around 1000 BC. The first Temple of Solomon was built in approximately 957 BC. The second temple was built in approximately 515 BC. The Hasmonean dynasty was founded in 166 BC. Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 BC, and the Jews exiled from Israel in 136 CE after the defeat of the Bar Kokhba revolt. The Romans, in an attempt to shame the Jews, renamed the area Palestine as an insult after the Jews' historic enemy, the Philistines. Even during the exile, there was continuous Jewish presence in the land. Islam, which is the religion of the Palestinian Arabs, was not even founded until the 7th century CE or AD. No independent Arab state has ever existed in the area known as Palestine.
Brother, you can't glance over 2,000 years of history. And once again, I'm glad I talked about the origination of this argument because it's a stupid one. And let me tell you why it's a stupid one. Because the idea that Jews are native to Palestine is not an argument that Theodore Herzl made, okay? Theodore Herzl very clearly defined Zionism as a colonial movement, okay? Theodore Herzl openly stated that there were natives living there when he wanted to first purchase Israel proper, the area that you know as Israel, historic Palestine, from the Ottoman Empire, and certainly after he got his wishes from the British Empire. You cannot fucking make an argument by going, my source? The Bible? Have you heard of it? That's ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous. There is no justification for this, especially over 3,000 fucking years. So that's already a ridiculous argument to make. And then secondly, the argument is not even being made by those who were the founding fathers of Zionism. That's right. Theodore Herzl did not believe that they were natives. That's precisely the reason why the originations of Zionism, like while they were deciding on where to go, they thought about Uganda as another place as the Jewish Holy Land, or at least not a Holy Land, but a Jewish area that you could populate as a nation state for Jews all around the world, and also Argentina and Alaska, okay? The Holy Land justification is just simply a way to motivate people to be with it. It's a way to globalize the cause. That's it. It's like a backronym. You know what I mean? You got the land, and now you're just making up mythology surrounding it. Now, of course, Ben is a well-read individual, so it's rather odd for him as a well-read individual to just, I don't know, go along with such ridiculous marketing proposals in an effort to engage in ad hoc justifications. Exactly. But who knows? Who knows?
No independent Arab state,
but regardless, this is, insane,
has ever existed in the area known as Palestine. Myth number 2. Israel is the...
Again, for a much longer period in time that is like infinitely more historically relevant, there were Jews and Christians and Muslims living there, okay? That's right. Under the Ottoman banner. That area was controlled by the Islamic Caliphate that was under the Ottoman Empire. For those of you who also don't know, additionally, the Ottoman Empire was always very friendly to Jewish people. Anyway, let's continue. It's irrelevant.
Cause of the failure of land partition in the Middle East. This is, again, a pure lie. In 1917, the British promised the Jews the entire area of Palestine. At the time, Israel and Transjordan, which is today's Jordan. In 1920, the Arabs began pogroms, a mass murder of Jews.
The Arabs began pogroms in 1920s? Okay, going forward, everything that Ben Shapiro says, just substitute Arabs and Zionist forces to understand the historical accuracy. So, was there violence? Absolutely. Part of the reason why there was actual violence on the ground was because of land grabs. There were moments where the Arabs themselves were unironically defending and hiding Jews from the British military. It is ridiculous. It was violence that they were subjected to by Britain. There were also violent factions, violent Zionist brigades that were forcibly trying to remove certain Arabs from areas that they wanted. But overall, the idea that this was Arabs doing pogroms is ridiculous. It is historically revisionist. This is in the 20s. I assume if he's saying this in the 20s, then what the fuck's he gonna say? That the Nakba was a necessary thing to do? I assume that that's where he's going to go to. But ultimately, these riots were being conducted against the British mandate. It was conducted against British forces. So it's not against Jewish people at all. Remember, 13% of the population at the time was already Jewish in historic Palestine.
In Jerusalem, as a sign of anger at the British mandate in Palestine. In 1922, the British government, in response, announced in a white paper that the Transjordan area, 70% of Palestine, would be sliced off and made an Arab state. That would become Jordan. In 1937, the Peel Commission recommended a rump state for the Jews, in which the British would retain control over Jaffa and Jerusalem, the Arabs would get the entire Negev and nearly the entirety of Judea and Samaria, and the Jews would get a tiny swath of territory along the coast, including Tel Aviv and Haifa. In 1939, the British, in response again to Arab pressure, restricted Jewish immigration to Palestine.
Is he saying the Arab pressure restricted Jewish immigration to Palestine? The Arab pressure? The Arabs could pressure the British? Wait, hold on. First of all, it's pretty funny that he's saying that as someone who lives in America, obviously, because Britain's new policy vis-a-vis Palestine on the eve of the war in Europe was clearly aimed at appeasing the Arabs, convinced that for the Arabs, Jewish immigration